What's going on, guys? This is AO from AO&JO Photography and Video, and today I'm going to talk about why we switched from Canon to Sony. So we've been shooting with Canon for about 3 years plus, doing wedding photography and video. The reason why I first got interested with Sony was the a6300. When I saw the specs of the a6300 and it had the 4K and I saw the image quality, I was like, I got to try this camera. Well, we got one of them, we tried it, I loved it. We used it for about the remaining of that year. That was our main camera for video, and then we had 2 Canon cameras as, you know, the B camera and the C camera. When the a6500 came out, I knew it was time to upgrade our cameras for video when it comes to our business. It had the in-body image stabilization, it had the touchscreen autofocus, and it solved the overheating problem that the a6300 had. So ultimately, we ended up shooting all of our weddings this year, 2017, with Sony when it comes to video. And we just fell in love with it. Using the touchscreen autofocus, a lot more of our shots were in focus. And then the in-body image stabilization, when we filmed on the monopod or even filmed handheld, the in-body image stabilization really helped out a lot to get stable footage. Those were the reasons why we thought about even just trying the Sony lineup out. Now these are the reasons why I ultimately switched to Sony altogether for photo and video. Number one, of course, was video. The Canon cameras just didn't lack the 4K, the in-body image stabilization, the autofocus for video, and that's why we ultimately wanted to move to Sony, was just the video features of it. We used Magic Lantern for Canon, but over time that just got cumbersome. If somebody shot with us, we would have to put Magic Lantern on their camera to make sure we had zebras and scopes and stuff like that, or even focus peaking, magnification to make sure we're in focus. But with the a6500, all of that was built into the camera, so it just made it really easy and simple. Next thing was just touchscreen autofocus. I hear a lot of people say you're not professional if you use video autofocus. Well, while I can use manual focus perfectly fine, the touchscreen autofocus just makes things so much simpler. And if I can film something, if I'm on a gimbal and it's gonna autofocus on their face while I'm shooting, now I can shoot shots at 1.8, 2.0, get a nice blurry background, versus having to shoot, you know, with a 16 to 35, which I used to shoot with my 6D, and then just everything just always be in focus. The next reason why we ultimately switched was in-body image stabilization. While not only does it help with the video functionality of the camera, but a lot of people don't realize that the image stabilization really helps out on the photography side as well. A lot of times when I'm looking at pictures and I'm zooming in 1:1, while they have changed the focus points to the eyeball or something like that, sometimes the image just isn't as sharp, you know, due to like maybe a lower shutter speed or just, you know, being shaky a little bit. Whereas on the Sony cameras, you know, it has that image stabilization built in. The images on the photography side are even sharper because of that stabilizing the sensor. The fourth reason why we ultimately switched to Sony was the size. With the Canon cameras, I used to use the Ronin M to get stabilized shots. Now with the Sony cameras, I can use a handheld gimbal by Xeon Tech called the Crane. And now, like, I literally can put that in my over-the-shoulder bag. Whereas before, I just stopped using the Ronin because I had to use this big case. I had to drag it around with me everywhere. Then I had to take the stand, and I had to put the Ronin on the stand when I wasn't using it. And then it just got to be too much on the wedding day. And I started realizing like I wasn't getting enough shots. But now with the Crane, I literally can pull it right out of my shoulder bag, put the camera on the Crane, have it set up in 2 seconds and ready to shoot. We shoot maybe 20 weddings a year, 20 plus weddings a year. And we're talking about 5D Mark III, 6Ds, Ronin M's, you know, the big L series glasses, 7200s, 100 macro, 5085, you know, the bags get to be really heavy. I remember the first time I packed my bag for a wedding, I had the Sony a6500 in there, I had the 35mm f1.8, and I had like a 16mm and like an 18 to 105. And I literally kept opening my bag up because when I picked it up, I thought I didn't pack it. Like, it was so light that when I picked it up, I didn't know all the gear was in there. And then when I picked my wife's bag up for photography, and she had the 85 in there, the 1.2 85 in there, the 50 1.2, the 7200. I mean, that thing was really heavy. EVF, electronic viewfinder. I know a lot of times when we had the Canon cameras and we were taking, even shooting photography or video outside in bright daylight, we're always like reviewing the picture and we're like covering the screen up so we can try to see it because all the sun's blocking it. Now with the Sony camera, you can literally just put your eye to the viewfinder and look right through it and see everything. The next reason is eye autofocus. You know, with our photography, we really give our couples a lot of images for engagement sessions or the wedding, a lot of different compositions. And I always preach to my wife and then our second shooter about making sure that we move our focus points, focus right on the eye. And so when you're doing that with a Canon camera, if you go from a landscape to a portrait, you have to keep moving that focus point around every time. With the Sony cameras, when I really fell in love when I went from portrait to landscape and I just pressed the button that I had programmed for eye autofocus, it just focused right on the eye. I didn't have to worry about moving that focus point. So it saved me a lot of time in the session, you know, because I didn't have to focus recompose or move the focus points around. It just saved me so much time. Next is just the image quality. You know, the 4K image just looks amazing. And then when I picked up the A7R2 and I saw the image quality of the pictures, I mean, I was just blown away. And I just don't think, you know, any of the Canon cameras in that same price point, they just don't compare to the image quality of these Sony cameras. I mean, because the A7R2 was about $32, the A7S2 was about $32, and then even the A6500 is like $1,400. I mean, Canon does not have a $1,400 camera that compares to the image quality of the A6500. And then even at $3,000, the Mark III or the Mark IV just doesn't compare to the image quality either, in my opinion. All right, and then just the last thing is just price. You know, we do wedding photo and video, and so that means we typically are gonna have 3 or 4 cameras for video, and then 1 camera and possibly a backup for photography. So you're talking about, you know, buying 4 or 5 1DX Mark IIs, which I would say compares to more of the Sony stuff that I'm using. You know, those cameras are $6,000 a piece, you know, versus the A6500s that we use all year. Those are $1,400 a piece. And then, you know, like the A7R2, when I had that, you know, I swapped, I traded for my Mark III. So, you know, just the price just doesn't compare when you're looking apples to apples. So those were the reasons why we switched from Canon to Sony. And my next video, I'll probably be talking about the A7R III and why I pre-ordered that, and why we'll be using the Sony cameras for photography this year as well. And we'll be doing a review. Probably, I think it comes in tomorrow. So we'll be doing a review. If you have any questions or anything that you want me to look at, like the slow motion, the image quality, the low light, just drop a comment below, hit that bell, because I'll be doing that review tomorrow as soon as it comes in. And any questions or answers or things that you guys want me to check out on the A7R III, I'll be glad to check it out tomorrow when it comes in. All right, guys, subscribe, hit that bell, go follow us on Instagram. That's AO&JO Photography. I'll post a lot of behind the scenes. And then go to my wife's page if you want to look at a lot of our portraits and stuff like that. That's AO&JO Photography _JO. She pretty much keeps update with the Instagram. I just post every once in a while. So just make sure you go like us on there and drop a comment. All right, guys, see you guys later.